Okay, now that I had them all expanded, make sure you put the respective parts back without dropping them into the guys that you got them from. That way you don't surprise yourself when you're trying to go back to the original caliber. Okay, now we have to choose a charge. Now, if you saw my video at the range on fire forming, you saw that I fired some squib loads, but what you didn't see was I was using a charge of 6 grains to shoot this thing out of there, and it wasn't really going that fast. I could feel the bullet slip down the barrel and exit the bore, and I could see it in my scope, like a little silver dot in the air. So it climb and drop onto the target. It wasn't very accurate. It was probably shooting a group probably about 3 or 4 inches at 25 yards. Which tells me, one, the bullets weren't getting enough rotational spin to stabilize them, and two, the lock time between the firing pin impacting the primer and the bullet leaving the barrel was too long, and it leaves too much room for error. Well, while we're on the subject of squib loads, I want to show you something interesting. Here's a 308. This is another dummy cartridge, but this is loaded with a 100 grain 32 Smith & Wesson wad cutter. I put it through my sizing die to make it 309. Now these are pretty accurate. When you're using about 8 grains of unique, this thing will shoot nice little clover leaves at 25 yards. And because they're flat and has a large meat plot in the front, these will hit a jackrabbit like a sledgehammer. But it won't blow into bits if you want to eat them or skin them. And that's what we're going to try to do with these guys. So now that we realize what we're going to use here, I'm going to be using my little dandy, which is made by RCBS. It's a good little device. It comes with these powder drums. And there are data out there that tells you what number correlates with what powder. So the number 18, which I'm going to be using here, should throw 9.5 grains of powder. Although this varies. And the reason why this varies is in the summertime, the gunpowder will expand a little bit in the canister when it's hot here. And in wintertime, it'll throw a slightly denser charge, or heavier charge. So I'm going to go ahead and set my scale up for 9.5 grains. I always take the pan off, because if you have to angle this thing like that, the powder can splash over the opposite side. It's a little less than 9.5 grains. It's a new lot number to the powder. So always check your lot numbers. So it's dropping about a 9.3 grain charge. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to charge all my cases, and then we're going to have to measure the polyfill. Now with the polyfill on a case like this, since we're using such a little charge, we're going to use about 2 to 3 grains of polyfill, whatever it takes in order to fill the void between the powder and the base of the bullet. It's not going to affect you actually. In fact, you wouldn't even see the polyfill. Once it comes out of there, it's pretty well destroyed. And again, make sure you look in the light and make sure every case is charged. So now that we know that every case is charged, we need to go ahead and see how much polyfill we're going to need. So I'm going to drop this back down to 2.5 grains. And after a while, you'll you'll get a feel of how much you really need just by the volume of it. And a bag of this polyfill will last you nearly a lifetime. Almost there. Consistency is the key to accuracy here. Okay, so we got 2.5 grains. Now, as I'm looking down here, 9.5 grains of unique isn't nothing in here. So all I do is I put the polyfill over the case. You don't have to ram right in there. You just want to tamp it just a little bit. Get to where you want it. Now for the interesting part. We need to set up our dies to accept the bullet we're about to seat here. And this is why I make dummies with the overall length that I want of different cases. And you can Sharpie it on here. Although, the funny thing is about brass is Sharpie will still rub off of it. Okay, so that's about perfect right there. Now, I'm going to change the camera angle because I want to show you how to put the tape properly on this bullet. These bullets are already pan lubed, which is great because you can never have enough lube on a bullet, especially when they're small. So I'm going to switch the camera angle and I'm going to show you how to do this. Okay, this is just plumber's Teflon tape. You don't need bunches of it, but there's a way of wrapping it on there in order to ensure that it's, when the bullet is spinning, you do it in the right direction. Now if it's a right hand twist, you want to think of the base of the bullet. It's going to be turning like this, correct? It's going to be turning clockwise as you're looking at it. So you want to wrap the tape counterclockwise to the base of the bullet. Go ahead and press the tape on here. You want it basically just on the bearing surface. You want to pull it kind of tight. Basically what you're doing is you're paper patching it with Teflon. And I'm putting 1.5 turns on there. It's really not going to make a whole lot of difference in weight at all. Just roll it between your fingers. And there you have it. Let's do another one. Remember, counterclockwise. Get it on the bearing surface. Don't worry about it if it gets on the base. It's no big deal. And these being pan lubed, the lubricant that's on there is going to really help this stuff stick. Doing 1.5 turns. Don't worry if you have a little tail like this on there, because that'll just come right off.